Hi, good morning, Luke. Welcome to the show, and thanks very much for joining me today.
Yeah, no, really appreciate the invite. Thanks for having me on.
Look, I'd like to kick off the podcast in a place where I normally start. Just given what I do on a day-to-day basis, I'm always really interested in hearing about people's career journeys. So could you maybe start by talking a little bit about your career path and what led to you ultimately joining PowerHouse a few years ago?
I started in the trades. I started right out of high school with a mechanical contractor. Like I believe everybody else in the data center industry, didn't envision myself in data centers, but really started mechanical contractor. Started working on construction sites. I probably lacked a little direction as a teenager, so going directly to college was not the right path for me. But really glad that I took the path I did. Was in mechanical contracting for 6 or 7 years. Liebert at the time, vendors, Vertiv now, but so was actually, 18 years old, changing filters on Challenger 3 units and cleaning coils. But the data center aspect always was really exciting to me. So ended up leaving the trades, going to work for an owner operator out of Boston, the Markley Group, the telecommunications hotel of the New England area. So started on the operations side, then moved over to development and construction, started my project management path there. So was with the Markley Group for almost 10 years, came down to Virginia about 4.5 years ago. Really enjoyed my experience in Boston, but felt that I was missing out on some of the larger hyperscale projects and that builds were going on. So came down here, worked with a great organization, Direct Line, that's recently been acquired by CBRE. Started working on hyperscale projects, and then 3.5 years ago, heard about PowerHouse as they were, really coming public and coming onto the scene. I had an opportunity to join here really at the ground floor, and it's been an exciting ride ever since then.
Can you maybe talk to us a little bit about your role today and what that looks like at PowerHouse?
Here at PowerHouse, Managing Director of Development and Construction. So we really take the projects from an early acquisitions phase all the way until we're commissioned and hand over to a data center. So, oversee a great team here. When I started at PowerHouse, we were, developing, call it 400 megawatts really in Northern Virginia. And, we're up to really over 6 gigawatts. And we have active development right now across the US.
That's some impressive growth there. I did notice that you'd been promoted twice in your first couple of years with PowerHouse. I was going to ask what drove that rapid progression, but I think you've probably just touched on it there. But yeah.
I don't want to call it a long shot, but no one who knew who PowerHouse was. It wasn't an established name or brand in the market, so it was a little bit of a leap to join the organization, but was able to see really the vision for moving forward. So when I joined, our development and construction team was a team of one. It was me. We had some other folks that were running different verticals and helping out on the data center side. Really at 30 in development and construction team now. So I've managed to scale up the team. So I'd like to say, really the promotions and growth here were just a byproduct of the growth of the organization in general and the growth of the PowerHouse platform as we've scaled, outside of Northern Virginia to all over the continental US.
Can you maybe add a bit of meat on the bone around some of that growth in development pipeline that you've been going through over the last few years?
One of the great things about PowerHouse is, our parent organization is American Real Estate Partners, AREP. AREP's been a developer for over 20 years. So while it seems like it's been a very fast growth, there's been a lot going on in the background for a while. We were actually the largest land buyer in Loudoun County in 2021. Really wanted to establish some of those key strategic sites in Northern Virginia. So when I joined, we really just had those 3 initial sites. But with its development background, really that real estate core, has a solid pipeline, not just to potential sites and to joint venture partners who have land available, but with the capital, with the lenders, with the brokers, with the people that we really needed to be able to move quickly. So while the data center vertical and that product type is new to AREP, moving quickly on large scale real estate development projects, it isn't new to us. So it was really just us bringing in the data center specific expertise and team to help AREP grow the PowerHouse brand. But this type of growth that we're going through with the data centers is in AREP's DNA. And we were, really uniquely positioned in the market to take advantage of data centers as everyone knows, it's just heated up over the past few years.
Can you maybe help me understand a bit about how you managed scaling such a big vision of, that 6 gig development pipeline with a lean team like that?
It's two different aspects. It's one, when we really started building the PowerHouse team, the verdict from our CEO was we need to go and get the best data center builders in the world. And I really do feel like we've made a lot of strides towards that. We have team members that have managed major hyperscale projects from the owner side, direct from the hyperscalers, from major GCs, from competitors. When you look at the experience of the team that we've built, the development and construction here has done over 25 gigawatts worth of data center developers. So these are all very experienced data center team members. So that honestly makes my job a lot easier. Bringing on people who really have had a track record for doing this. And, one of the real advantages of joining an organization at this point in its growth is that you really have a voice and a direction on how we grow, how we build, and how we scale. So there's a lot of, individuals in the market that have been with, organizations that have, they might have started with them 5, 6, 7 years ago, and they were quick and agile, and they've now become, these larger bureaucratic groups. And really at the stage that we are now, we are still a very quick, fast-moving, dynamic organization where someone could join and have a major impact very quickly versus just being another number. The second is really our partnerships within the industry. So who we use of our partner team, whether they're owners, reps firms, whether they're designers, whether they are our general contractors, everyone that we use experience delivering on these type of data center projects. And that was one of the really benefits of bringing on experienced data center builders to the team, is that they're all coming with these great relationships, whether it be an architect or an engineer or general contractor. So us not just building our own internal team, but really understanding who the best designers, builders, consultants are in the industry, and being able to leverage them when we need them.
Just with the nature of a startup, there's always a mixture of execution as well as strategy, even for the most senior people within the business. We've talked about your promotions in terms of title over the last few years. Can you give me any understanding of how the scope of your role has evolved over time as well?
Coming in, being a team of one, I was, managing the day-to-day execution on those 3 projects. So now, of course, with the team in place, it's much more, to your point, resourcing, right? It's how do we continue to bring on the best people within the industry? It is certainly more strategic in terms of helping where we grow as an organization, both geographically and from our customer base. And then it's implementing the policies, the procedures, the tools that we need to be able to scale quickly. So bringing so many people on in such a fast amount of time and adding so many projects, we need a degree of standardization. We need people to be able to be, project A running in Texas, running similar to project B in Virginia. So we need to be able to standardize so that we're able to continue to scale quickly and that we're able to onboard people quickly. So building those processes, those systems, to be able to not just support the growth that we've had, but to be able to continue on this trajectory has really been where a lot of my focus has been.
How far are you taking these developments? Is it powered shell? Are you looking to fully fit out MEP and operate on some of these sites? Is it a mixture of those things? What's the core strategy there,
It's
Luke?
definitely a mixture. When we started PowerHouse, it was a little bit of a walk before we run type of philosophy. So our initial product was a powered shell, because it is truly more of a real estate transaction than it is a data center transaction. If you look at our 6 gigawatt amount of work under development right now, about 4.5 of that is powered shells, and the rest of that is turnkey work. So we are expanding our turnkey portfolio. Is really the next iteration of what PowerHouse is. But we're delivering on, over a gigawatt plus of a turnkey within the next couple of years.
And I have noticed some big announcements on the capital side in the not too distant past. I'm with, some real serious players like Blue Owl. I saw a $5 billion JV involving Blue Owl and some other investors as well. And you mentioned you've announced some huge campuses such as the 1.35 gigs in Pennsylvania. How, in your opinion, has PowerHouse positioned itself, so quickly as such a credible developer in the market?
One of the really attractive things about PowerHouse is that, we're not capitalized at a platform level. So we're able to, on a project specific basis, pick which capital works best. So it gives us a lot of flexibility in what regions we go to, what customers we target, and what that delivery type is too, because there's some capital out there that prefers to be on the real estate powered shell side of things. There's some capital that would rather be on the turnkey side. And then there's some capital that's very comfortable with, only, pure hyperscale investment grade credit tenants. And there's some that's willing to take, maybe some of your more startup type tenants out there as well too. So it's provided us a lot of flexibility, not to have one major capital partner in the PowerHouse platform, but to be able to pick and choose what fits best for each project, depending on the speed, on the scale, and the region of that project.
And yeah, I think you've already touched on some of this, but what do the right investment partners bring to the table in terms of other aspects such as opening doors to clients, credibility, speed? Can you talk to me around any of that stuff?
Yeah, certainly on the credibility aspect. PowerHouse being a relatively new entrant to the data center market, going to a tenant, going to an end user with some of those capital partners that we work with, the end user knows that capital partner wouldn't be committing hundreds of millions, billions of dollars to the project if they didn't do their due diligence and they didn't have trust in us as a developer to be able to finish that project. And finish it on time and on schedule. So, being able to deal with, the largest, capital groups in the world has really helped us as we expand our customer base, for us to go in front of a new customer, to have that faith that, we are able to, one, properly capitalize on the project to be able to finish it, but that they have faith that we're able to deliver that, on time, on budget, and in market. So, and certainly on the relationship side, these larger groups, they touch a lot of different parts of the market. So in terms of, relationships, and everyone, if the capital is on our side, everyone's incentivized for that successful project outcome. The capital is, we are, and the tenant is as well too, because they're counting on that capacity, though, that compute time to be online at a certain time frame. So these are, extremely complicated, fast-moving projects, but everyone is incentivized for that successful project execution, and everyone's able to step in and help where they can to be able to help the team get there.
I think the vast majority of the industry would agree that power is probably the biggest challenge that everyone's facing right now. So it'd be remiss of me not to ask, how are PowerHouse approaching that challenge for some of these, particularly for some of these larger scale projects that you're developing?
The start of the beginning, it's really with the staffing team. So we've got some great folks on our team that come directly from the utilities that really manage that process for us. And for us, it's the same thing as the capital partners provide legitimacy to end users. Those end users, those capital partners also provide legitimacy to the utilities. So when you look at major data center utilities, a lot of them are being inundated by what I would call like jump requests. It's speculators out there that are putting land under option that frankly don't even have the capital to be able to close on that land, but they're throwing load requests at the utilities for hundreds of megawatts or gigawatts worth of load that they don't end up actually being real. So for us, it's really the relationship with the utility to show them that we're real when we come. If we have a 1.8 gigawatt load letter, we're not just a speculative investor that's going out there that's trying to get a power load letter and flip the land. We're actually able to build. We're actually able to close. We're actually able to bring the tenant to the table, who's the end user that's going to be using that load for them. So a lot of it is building that relationship and ensuring them that we are going to deliver, and that, the commitments that we're putting up, they can count on us to be able to be there at the end of the day, to be able to take that load off their grid, so they're able to monetize on it, and that they're not spending money on, engineering studies or infrastructure that might not be realized because it's some speculative group that's just trying to take down land.
Yeah. Are you exploring any strategies from either an on-site generation or behind the meter solution?
If you asked me a couple of years ago, I would have said that, there's no future in on-site gen, and I was proven extremely incorrect. That's really, when you look at the strain on a lot of these utilities, that's really the only solution. I think the question is whether on-site generation, whether, behind the meter, is it really a long-term permanent solution, or is it a bridging solution until, permanent utility power is available? And I think a lot of that depends on the user. There's a lot of good things that come with being able to control your own destiny with on-site gen. There's also, long-term PPAs. There's a lot of other things that some users haven't totally signed off on. But the industry adoption is 100% going towards more on-site gen. So it's certainly going to be part of our portfolio. I don't think it's going to be a world where it's all of our portfolio, but for certain users in certain markets, it makes a lot of sense.
Can you give us an understanding of what we can expect to see from PowerHouse over the next few years? I assume a good chunk of it is just ensuring that development pipeline is executed on as well as possible. But is there anything else you can add to that?
I can tell you our acquisition pipeline is just as big or bigger than what our current development pipeline is. So they'll, certainly even within the next few months, where there'll be some other major announcements in terms of sites, in terms of capital partners, in terms of leases signed. So we're not taking our foot off the gas pedal. We think this is, certainly a unique time in the market, and that, we are uniquely positioned both from an organizational size perspective, that we're able to move very fast, that we're very agile, but also have the ability to be, extremely well capitalized and to be able to execute on these projects. So we're not taking our foot off the gas, and I would expect, as much as we've grown within, the 3.5 years since I've been here, that we'll likely have another true doubling within the next 12 to 16 months.
I always finish the podcast on the same question. So can I ask you, Luke, what in your opinion are people in the industry not talking about that you think it's important that they should be?
Yeah, no, for me, I think the key issues everyone is talking about, right? Like, and back to power, back to certainly manpower, coming from the skilled trades. I have a real appreciation for how many people it takes to do these sites, and the fact that all those people don't exist in the U.S. right now. So to be able to, how do we help support our partners, whether it's electrical, mechanical, whatever trade it is, to be able to get the right skilled manpower to execute on these jobs. Certainly everyone's talking about AI. For me, it's really the data center industry since its inception has been a very siloed private industry. Everybody's under NDA. Nobody can talk about projects. At the scale and the speed that we're going, being able to be more open and more transparent would gain a lot of efficiencies, right? Like, as a group that sees basis of design from almost all the major hyperscalers, all the what we call them super scalers, but like the level below them, right? When you look at perhaps trying to get more of an industry standard end product, would really help the industry as a whole to be able to move faster and move quicker. So I always, that's one of the most frustrating aspects, is that there's so many good projects going out there with so many lessons learned. And we're not really able to share those across the industry because everyone's convinced they have the secret sauce. Everyone's convinced that they're doing it better than everybody else. And nobody's really willing to share or be open about what really does work, where do faults come from, where can we improve, get faster, get cheaper, and honestly, like, be better neighbors. across the industry.
How do you think we can get to that?
At some point, it's happening just on a personnel resourcing, and that there's a lot of people moving between organizations that are bringing those lessons learned. The problem is that because of the growth of the industry, there's also so many new people coming in that don't have that experience, that haven't been building data centers for 5, 10, 15 years. And when you go, especially if you're going directly to an end user or hyperscaler, you're only getting that like their specific delivery model, right? So it's I don't have the perfect answer. I think for part of it, there's some groups out there that are doing it at the modular level, like trying to standardize, e-houses just like you would a generator, right? Trying to get some standard building blocks. So the industry, the manufacturers are driving it to some extent, but there's still a lot of opportunities to get better there.
Thank you very much for taking the time to join me, Luke. It's been really it's been fascinating watching the growth of the business from the outside, and it seems like there's going to be a hell of a lot more growth to come. So wish you and the team all the best in that.
Yeah, no, appreciate all you do. I've been listening along to the podcast, so continued success with it.
Thanks very much. Cheers, Luke.